everybody. My name is Sue Anderbaugh. I'm the chair of the Special Committee on the Environment Resiliency. We're going to call today's public hearing to order. I'm going to acknowledge Councilwoman Anthony as a member of the committee here as well, and also Councilman Gonsalves is here. Thank you so much. And I think those are the only council people, but thank you. And Councilman Vargas. Sorry, Councilman Vargas is also here today. And Councilwoman Peterson has joined us as well. Great. I'm just going to say a few things before we kick off. We're here today to talk about the ordinance related to amend the gas-powered lawn equipment ordinance. This is going to be a public hearing. There'll be no votes taken. We're here to listen to you and hear all of your feedback. We've also received a lot of written comment, which will be entered into the record and has already been shared with all committee members and all council members. So we have all of the written feedback we've received as well. Thank you so much. I also just wanted to share a few quick notes about this ordinance and share that this is a very frequent concern that's been shared with me by my constituents, particularly as more people work from home and both see and hear leaf blowers in our communities regularly. As I've already addressed when the first time we discussed this in committee, my concern really is the carbon emissions and the pollution that come from the leaf blowers. And I also want to emphasize that this is not intended to harm workers or small businesses. And I had a really great conversation with the folks from RINLA last night. I know many of you are here in the room, and I've committed to chatting with you guys afterward as well. Not tonight necessarily, but in the future, having a conversation. I chatted with your new executive director last night. I also want to address, and I'm glad that Councilwoman Peterson is here. I know that there's been some confusion about the mention of Latino workers. The intention mentioning that was that we have seen that the demographics of this business, there are a lot of workers of many different racial and ethnicity backgrounds, and the intent is not to target any of those folks and intentionally to be supportive of people of all backgrounds, and I believe some people read it the opposite way. And so I just wanted to clarify that and thank Councilwoman Peterson for bringing up that was a point of confusion for folks, and we will amend that. So thank you, Councilwoman. And no further comment for me because this is really to hear from you. And so I'd love if the city sergeant, if you could please bring up the sign-in sheets to the clerks. And as he does that, I'll remind folks, when you come up, please state your name clearly for the record. And then you'll have about 3 minutes to speak because there are so many of us here today. I'll try and gently remind you around the 2:45 mark if you're still going. But we just want to be respectful of everyone here. And that goes for you as well, Councilman Vargas. I'm just teasing. Awesome. If we could start with Priscilla De La Cruz.
Mic is on. Thank you, Chairwoman Anderbaugh and members of the council for this opportunity today. I am Priscilla De La Cruz. I am the Director of Sustainability for the City of Providence, and I'm here today to offer some brief comments on behalf of the administration, supportive comments. So I have already provided you with some testimony, so I'll be brief in these remarks. So first to say thank you very much for the leadership in introducing this important ordinance to address the health and environmental impacts of using gas-powered leaf blowers. So we truly appreciate also the dialogue as well. Nothing here is of surprise. We've had a conversation with Councilwoman Anderbaugh and also have been before the committee to discuss our learnings of the pilots that we've had with electric lawn care equipment, in particular between the Departments of Sustainability and the Parks Department. So first off, to say that the mayor absolutely supports the intent of the ordinance. His only request is that we do adjust the years and that we offer some uniformity in terms of when we'll be phasing out to when we'll be prohibiting the use. And for us, a streamlined approach of just focusing on January 1st, 2031 makes the most sense, and we've provided that feedback to Councilwoman Anderbaugh. And that would allow us to be able to execute internally and externally and plan for both the internal and the external. Mostly for the internal operations, we've been learning a lot, so I've provided that information in your packets. You have a copy of a memo that you've already seen from the Parks Superintendent, Wendy Nilsson, and also Kevin Proff and my team, our Deputy Director, has been leading the pilot, and we have some insight for you for what we've learned going back to FY 22. So really, since 2021, 2022, we've been deploying electric lawn care equipment, and we've learned some things. So for us, changing the year to 2031 will really provide the city departments and city contractors, small businesses, and residents, from our point of view, to have clearer messages and streamline the communication and minimize confusion. Also, in terms of city departments, based on our experience, there are some current limitations with the industry and the commercial needs. So really going back to the technology and what we need. We've also been testing a variety of equipment to really learn how to adapt that into our operations. So we want to continue doing that. We've been allocating funding in the budget to do that work in partnership with Parks, and we plan on looking at other departments like public property. So we really want to have the time to get that right, and also address some of the funding constraints that we all know we face, to be able to plan for that. So with that said, in your package, I won't go and read that word for word. You've seen some of these findings already, but we provided that for your reference. Happy to answer any questions, but like I said, we're here to work with you, and we hope we can amend that year and then help you get this through passage.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Director. And for anyone who is interested in the information that the Sustainability Department has, they did present to this committee in December, and that recording and this memo are available on the city's open meetings portal. If anyone has trouble locating it, please feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to make sure you can see that presentation. Thank you, Director.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm going to switch between support and oppose. Next, I'll go to Councilman Vargas. You want to wait? Okay. Then I'll go to Mark Pare. You have to press the button until the red light comes on. And unfortunately, you have to talk kind of uncomfortably close to the microphone, so I apologize,
Okay.
but yeah.
Actually have like so much material to go over, I'm not going to be able to cover it all in 3 minutes. And a lot of it was because
And you're also welcome to send written comments.
great. A lot of it was because I listened to the audio video from the December meeting, and there's so many false things in there. I just wanted to help you guys understand. So I guess I'll just get as far as I can until you X me off. Anyways, I'm Mark Parry from Kent County Lawnmower. I own a lawnmower shop in West Warwick. We have 5 employees, and I wanted to talk to you about switching over to battery. So I was going to go over all the specs that I did on my own testing with battery-powered equipment. They're 100 decibels. I know that's a concern for everybody, is noise, just so you're aware that the battery-powered stuff, commercial battery-powered stuff, I know at your meeting in December, that was discussed, 100 decibels, 94 decibels. They have a higher pitch, battery-powered stuff, which is more dangerous for the user. That lower pitch they were talking about, that goes through walls that people complain about, that's so the user, it ain't as loud. A lower pitch doesn't bother your eardrums as bad as a higher pitch does. So I'm going to skip, and you're going to miss a lot of good information here. But
And please, I do really encourage you. You can even just hand me that piece of paper you're reading,
I will,
and
when
I
I'm
would
done,
love to
sure.
have it, yeah.
Charging, you got to remember that these batteries cannot get wet. So majority of the landscapers have open trailers. They would need 200 batteries to get through the day. If that was a 3-man crew, would be 200 batteries. If you can picture a backpack blower, it holds 3 batteries. The batteries, they're heavy. An electric battery-powered blower is 9 pounds heavier than comparable blower in gas-powered. You really need climate control to charge these batteries. If it's below 41 degrees and you put the battery on the charger, it'll just flash. It won't charge. It'll say, you know, the temperature's too cold. It's a hazard, the battery would catch on fire. So with that, knowing that, landscapers would have to have enough batteries to get through a whole day, because plugging into a homeowner's house is a liability. Because of the Rhode Island law, the no idle law, you can't leave your truck running to charge batteries, and I don't think you want a generator charging batteries. So on a backpack blower, it holds 3 batteries, you get about a 25-minute run time. You can't go by the up to, it'll say 3 hours, 30 minutes, that's if you're running it on low. It's not realistic. So really encourage you to get a commercial blower and use it like they would in the thick of it when the leaves are down and they're wet. And so not every landscaper out there has an enclosed trailer. They got open trailers. They live in apartments. When they come home at night, how do they charge 200 plus batteries? It's going to be impossible. It's going to be a business killer for landscapers and lawnmower shops like myself, because they're all disposable. We don't repair batteries, you throw them out. Run times I talked about. I'm just going to give you a quick comparison. If a landscaper had to buy a battery-powered blower, that's 36 newtons. Newtons is a measurement of wind force. The biggest gas-powered blower that we sell, our most popular, is 48 newtons. So this biggest battery one that I can sell is 36 newtons. It's still a good-sized blower. It would be, this doesn't sound believable, but it would be $27,000 in batteries they'd have to have per employee to get through the day. The charge time is an hour and a half. The run time is 25 minutes. You can only charge 2 batteries on one charger. You can't charge them during the day. I know you guys are running out of time.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to, we just hit the 4-minute, there's so many folks. But if you could hand that to the clerks, I will read everything you provide.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm gonna call, Paul Badger from Morris Ave. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Paul.
Yes, just to refute the previous testimony, in the packet, there's a very nice testimony from a landscaper who did the conversion and is not looking back. He thinks it's fine that they have the power, they have the batteries, it's all affordable. They end up spending less in terms of the conversion. So this problem is a classic problem in economics of the problem of pollution. Mm-hmm. And the way this model works is that with pollution, a few people benefit greatly, and this is often it's always financial. Somebody makes money, sometimes a lot of money, and this pays for lobbyists. Everyone else suffers a little bit, but lots of times the suffering is health or quality of life suffering, and it's often not enough to generate a lobby. In this case, people hate these things so much that this packet is full of testimony, against these things. There's a solution. So back to in the problem of pollution, there's no free market solution. The economists have scratched their head, and they don't have any kind of good solution to this from a free market standpoint. So it's up to government. So we're in the right place, and the government needs to do the right thing. All I can say is the fine should be enough to be effective, with a sliding scale. And I also think that there should be some mechanism so people could send in their videos, photograph the trucks, photograph the license plates, and that would be enough to generate a fine to provide a video. Maybe a website could be provided for this, so we can get this problem done with. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I'm gonna go to Ethan. I can't read your last name, but it says Black Rock Road. Awesome.
Hi.
Please state your full name, just, for the record.
Ethan Hatzroy. Thank you, Chair Sue, for letting me speak today. My name's Ethan Hattaway. I work at my family's business, Hattaway's Landscaping. I'm the past president of RINLA and current board member. I'm here to oppose the amendment to this noise ordinance. I know Mark Perry just talked about Section A on electric blowers being just as loud, or if not louder than gas-powered blowers. I know that was mentioned in the December 11th meeting by the park superintendent as well. So I just want that to be known for the record. I think that section should be eliminated. I just think it's irrelevant and kind of misleading because they're both loud. The weight of the battery is concerning to me. There is much more worker fatigue with a battery-powered blower as opposed to a gas-powered blower. So that's not helpful to the worker either. It's just a given that back injuries will go up, more workman's comp claims, more workers complaining about heavier equipment, rightfully so. Landscaping is tough work. It's not easy to get everyone to do this work, but it can be rewarding. And for some of us, it's not just a job, it's a career. This is a passion. People work outside. It's labor intensive, but our industry pays well. We give benefits. We treat our employees like family. So when people talk about this ordinance helping the worker, it may be a little short-sighted because it may help in certain aspects, but this ordinance definitely hurts the worker. It hurts gardeners, manual laborers, people without college degrees, people trying to get in their foot in the door for the workforce. So now we're going to strap on a heavier backpack to their body and make hard work even harder. It just doesn't really make sense. The financial burden, I could talk about this all day. I'll try to be quick, but there's so many factors involved in what it truly costs to switch your entire company from gas to electric. I know we're talking about just blowers right now, but that's where we're heading, right? So you have to remember, you can't compare the little electric battery-powered blower in your garage that you bought at Home Depot that you use a few times a year and use that as an analysis to compare it to what me and my company use. My company is a small business. We only got a dozen employees. I would need a battery-powered charging station on our property, and we'd have to get a whole new upgraded electrical service just to be able to handle the charging needs every day after the workday. I would need to build a building that's temperature controlled to safely store my batteries. They can't get wet, they can't get cold. You've heard everything that Mark said, and other people I'm sure will testify. So, where was I? Anyway, we'll skip on to the next point. So the rebate. You have the rebate that we instituted. I just wanted to be known for the record that RINLA did testify to support that rebate. We are not anti-electric. We supported it because it's okay and we want people to try it and have this conversation. But the cost is just so expensive that any landscaper who's done a true pro forma financial analysis to capture the real cost of going to electric knows that in the end of the day, $1,000 isn't going to get you too far. It might for one blower, for one person that has a couple of batteries, but you need so many batteries. Like Mark said, we can't charge them throughout the road during the day when we're on the road. So we literally just have to buy like hundreds of batteries to get ourselves through the entire workday. So everyone's math, except for our math, the people who are going to have to buy this stuff, it just seems to be off. The calculations just haven't been done right, where people are trying to compare it apples to apples, thinking a rebate may offset some cost somewhere. There's so many hidden costs that are lumped into this. This investment to go electric is so beyond what anybody I have seen rationally come up with. And the last point I just want to come up with is job losses and companies going out of business. I know you mentioned, different workers being affected. I mean, if you were to pass this, any workers are going to lose their job if it gets that bad. I mean, this stuff is so expensive to operate. Companies will go out of business or lay a bunch of people off. And certain landscaping companies will just not do leaf cleanups. They won't do certain things that require gas-powered blowers. They're not going to switch to electric. They're just not going to do the work. So like my company, for example, we probably would just choose not to operate in Providence anymore because I wouldn't be able to buy 2 sets of equipment. So I'm sure you're going to see a lot of other companies that are going to pull out as well. And it's sad just to think that this is helping the worker, because what this is doing is hurting them. I mean, the American dream is like, how do you start a cheap business without a lot of upfront capital costs? Like, you can have no education, no degree, you don't even have to speak English. You can buy a truck, you can get some cheap equipment and good work ethic, and you can be an entrepreneur in this country and make a living for yourself and your family.
And
You're
I do have to cut you off.
Okay.
You're about a minute and a half over, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, fair
You
enough.
were so passionate, I didn't want to
I'll leave it
interrupt.
at that. I
Yeah.
just want to make this affordable for people to make a living, and I don't want landscaping to be something that only rich people can afford to operate and run businesses.
Thank you, Ethan. And if you could send me any of those numbers you were referencing, I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome. Next, we're going to go to Nancy Owen. If you could just state your name for the record.
My name is Nancy Owen, and I live in Providence. I've lived in Providence for 29 years. One thing I love about this city is how walkable it is. If I want to walk to the grocery store, I can do that. If I want to walk for coffee, I can do that. The library, the schools. So to me, this leaf blower business becomes a quality of life issue. Not just the noise, but the fumes. And when I see many of these landscapers who are working with these things, I see them without ear protection and without respiratory protection. So it's a health issue, not just for me, but for the workers. The other thing I'd like to say is that this isn't a phase-in, this is a phased-in idea. This is not tomorrow. In the time period that this will be phased in, there will be better technologies, and we need to get away from fossil fuels. I won't say everybody. Many people appreciate the problem of climate change, but in a place like Providence that prides itself on being a livable city, the use of gas-powered equipment, it just seems like it denigrates the whole vision. I myself use a rake. I don't know, does anyone know what a rake is anymore? And if I do leave some leaves on the ground, I mow them and with my electric mower, because if you mow them, it adds nutrients to the soil, which helps protect the land. So that's what I have to say. I appreciate your work on this. I understand there are jobs around this, but if we look at it in the bigger picture, in the longer term, I think it is the best way to go for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Awesome. We're going to go now to Mark Bialik.
Good evening. My name is Mark Bialik. Hi, Councilor Sue. I'm the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Nursery and Landscape Association. We represent about 450 different landscaping, nursery, and assorted companies within that industry within Rhode Island, and thousands of employees that they employ. It's a diverse group of member businesses that support environmental and sustainability and good stewardship practices through the professionalism and excellence of the services we provide for the community. At this time, electric battery-powered equipment is not ready to replace gas-powered equipment for the vast majority of our member businesses. We encourage the research, development, and use of battery-powered equipment as time goes on, but we believe that it is our right to choose whichever equipment suits our individual business model. If this ordinance passes, it is our view that there will be harmful unintended consequences that will outweigh the benefits of a mandate to switch to all electric equipment at this time. Key issues in opposition to a ban include cost and accessibility, which many of my members will talk about, the performance limitations, infrastructure challenges, probably one of the biggest ones that we should focus on. Some areas may lack sufficient access to charging infrastructure, particularly for landscapers who work long hours in multiple locations. The cost of electricity in Rhode Island has gone up multiple times in the past few years with no sign of slowing. The environmental trade-offs. While gas-powered blowers produce emissions, manufacturing and disposing of lithium-ion batteries for electric models has its environmental impact as well. Additionally, the electricity used to charge them still comes from fossil fuels. Fire risk and prevention. Currently, the lithium-ion battery is highly combustible, and there is no way to put out these fires, especially while people are on the road. WINLA would like to work with any group that is interested in tackling this issue. Here's a list of cities that have tried to ban gas-powered leaf blowers and then had to rescind the decision later on for varying reasons. San Diego, 2022 they put the ban in, and in 2023 they had to rescind the ban. Proposed restrictions on gas-powered leaf blowers face strong opposition from landscaping companies and residents. While the city moved forward with incentives for electric models, enforcement of bans remains contested. Happened again in Beverly Hills. Newton, Massachusetts, getting closer to home, a seasonal ban on gas-powered blowers was proposed but met strong resistance from the landscapers. The city ultimately revised and weakened all the restrictions. Washington, D.C., this happened in 2022. Palm Beach, Florida in 2021, and Montclair, New Jersey in 2021. All of these cities had initially passed a ban, but the pushback from both residents and landscapers ended the issue. If you don't mind, maybe I could submit this as written testimony. I have enough copies for.
If you can give it to the clerk. And Helen, did you have a
I
councilwoman?
do. I just have a question. On all these cities that you mentioned, were they phased-in programs or were they immediate?
I believe almost all of them had initial phase-ins, and then when the ban went in finally, that's when the companies were suing the state and cities for the restrictions. All of this is public information, and like I said, I handed it to her. There's other cities where they're trying it, just like going on right here, but it's meeting quite a bit of resistance, as you can see from a number of people that are in opposition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Councilman Goncalves.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, members of the committee. I appreciate us having the opportunity to talk about this matter. I'm John Gonsalves. I represent Ward 1 in the city of Providence. That's the neighborhoods of Fox Point, Wayland Square, College Hill, the Jewelry District, and downtown. Again, thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of banning gas-powered leaf blowers in the city of Providence. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's really a public health issue, and it's a quality of life issue that we'll hear about directly from our constituents. As someone who has championed a version of this in the past, I appreciate your leadership, Councilwoman Anderbaugh, and the council's leadership, and believe we can't ignore the significant health risks posed by gas-powered leaf blowers. These machines, regardless of what you hear from the opponents tonight, emit harmful pollutants and fine particulate matter into our atmosphere, whether it's carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and other matters that exacerbate respiratory conditions, especially for the workers. And also, other folks in our community, whether it's children that are walking by, elderly, and those with asthma. As we know, and as we've worked on pretty vigorously as a council, we have long struggled with high asthma rates in the city of Providence. Continuing to allow gas-powered leaf blowers worsens this public health issue and crisis in our community. Our residents have been particularly clear. The noise from gas-powered leaf blowers is disruptive, it's unnecessary, and it's also harmful to daily quality of life. Now, my second term on this council, I have received more emails and calls than I care to share about this particular issue, and the piercing high decibel sound from these devices can cause stress, hearing damage, sleep disturbances, you name it, particularly in densely populated areas in our city. I've consistently advocated for policies that make our neighborhoods better and safer, and addressing excessive noise pollution aligns with that mission. Providence is obviously moving towards a greener, more sustainable future. This is a part of that. These machines produce as much pollution in 1 hour as driving a car for over 1,100 miles. With electric alternatives readily available and just as effective, and also the ability to use a rake, as one of our constituents so eloquently shared today, there's no justification for continuing to use outdated and environmentally harmful technology. The workers operating these machines, often low-wage workers, members of communities of color, are the ones most exposed to these harmful emissions and ear-splitting noise levels. And if we claim to prioritize workers' rights and their well-being, then we must ensure that they're not subjected to these avoidable health risks. You've heard that other cities have done this, and those bans still remain in place, whether it's DC or California municipalities, and they have made the transition, and they're proving that it's both feasible and beneficial to the members of their community. A phase-out of gas-powered leaf blowers is another common-sense policy that could make Providence a healthier, quieter, and more sustainable city. And I believe we should streamline the timeline and set a sooner phase-out, consistent with the administration providing resources for landscapers to transition to other alternatives, be it electric, natural, rakes, to ensure a smooth and just implementation. And let's be clear, this is not an attack on landscaping businesses. It's a necessary step toward modernizing industry practices in a way that truly benefits everyone. And I know that that's something that can be a little nerve-wracking to some of our landscaping companies tonight, but I urge them to continue to learn more about this issue and to continue to think about more innovative practices, because we have an opportunity to lead and prioritize our public health and improve the quality of life of our residents in the city. So I urge the council to eventually pass this and commit to a cleaner, quieter, and healthier Providence. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Oscar Vargas. Oh, you've got props.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Oscar Vargas. I am a councilman. I represent Ward 15, Bonneville, Menton, and Valley Street. I wrote a little SMS. I would like to start by saying I want to be part of the solution, like everybody else here. But my community depends on landscaping business. They work in landscaping business to produce money and buy food for the families that they have. Just on equipment, they will spend a lot of money, these companies. So I am a businessman. If I need to save money, I will have to lay off people to produce money to buy the equipment that we, as a city, as a government, are producing ordinance to push business to do what we're looking for. Plus, like everybody's saying, we need a generator to charge these batteries. See this battery here? It's for the little blower there that got there. Only lasts 5 minutes. So the blower and this battery costs my mother-in-law, because she's 65, so she don't have enough money to pay landscaping. Sorry about you guys. And she paid $125. So the battery died. You know how much this battery is? $120. She don't have the money to buy a battery. And nobody wants to take it either. There's no recycle for them. Plus this one here, $65. I didn't use it last winter. The battery died. No, I don't have no battery. I don't have no money to buy a new one. So I think as a small city council legislators here, we should help small businesses look for solutions, how to help them, help the community, and help the environment. Please take our concerns, especially mine. My constituents and my residents, they need the job, especially in these times of the year and with this new administration that we have. It's something that we have to think about it. My community needs a better way, better solutions, like my community, your community, and everybody's community. They need a job. We're not ready yet. We know we won't there. Everybody's buying an electric car. We don't have enough chargers. So we think we're going backwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Stuart Martin.
Stuart Martin, Providence, Rhode Island. I was initially, and I still am, for this proposal, but I've been thinking a lot about the impact it would have on workers. So I'd like to propose that we extend the deadline. I've been paying attention to improvements in battery technology worldwide, and the improvements have been tremendous. So perhaps we could revisit this issue later on. I have a different perspective I wanted to share also about leaves. I'm intimately involved with composting in the city of Providence. It's an incredibly valuable resource. When I travel around the country, I notice how some cities actually, there's a municipal component to collecting leaves and saving them and shredding them. They don't have to be shredded, but you can, for use, mulching, landscaping, and composting. We're actually having this issue now where we've established a Providence wood chip depot, which we're going to announce in the spring on Salem Street, where leaves are available for citizens to compost, landscapers, and we also have wood chips. Instead of throwing them out into the landfill, they're used for mulching, landscaping purposes. So that's what I wanted to pretty much speak about. I think there's a different way we could think about leaves that doesn't leave out workers, that doesn't, I think there's a way to sort of cut this where it's not so black and white. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. I agree. Awesome. We have Alan from Holly Hill Lane. If you could state your full name for the record. Sorry, I couldn't read your last name.
Hello? Okay. My name's Alan Moyo. I own the LBI Group, which is Forest Hill Nurseries in Cranston, and the Lawn Beauticians. I've been in business 53 years, and some of the things I'm hearing here tonight is crazy. I think if you're going to do this, you're going to wait some time, because I went in front of the House of Representatives, and I did a talk back then, and we killed the bill then because it was so ridiculous. And it was some representative from the east side of Providence that put the bill in, because she said the people on the east side wanted to have more quietness. I see tonight that person wants me to use a hand rake to rake the leaves instead of a blower. I did that back in the 60s. I'm 70 years old, and I'm not doing no more hand raking. I believe you should leave this to the people of the city of Providence and take a vote on it, not the council, people of the city of Providence, because I can guarantee you they'll say wait longer till we have the technology. We don't have the technology yet. If we had it, I would use it, but they don't have the technology yet, and it's so expensive. I have a friend of mine that landscapes at Patriot Stadium. He bought a lawnmower. It cost him $50,000, electric lawnmower, and the lawnmower only lasts 6 hours. So that means he's going to buy 2 a day to do the same amount of square footage, which means it's $100,000 a day. So it could get very, very, very expensive, is what I'm saying to you, especially when you got big lots. And I don't believe you people should be voting on it tonight. I believe you should let the people vote on it and see if the people say yes, up yes, or down no. That's what I believe. I have many times gone over and talked to people in Providence, and I don't believe Providence, Silver Lake, Federal Hill, Smith Street, near La Salle, and I can't think of half of the other places in Providence. They're people that are hurting. They can't afford to buy electric lawnmowers and backpacks because the people on the east side can afford it. And they don't want to hear the noise. And if they don't want to hear the noise, I even talked to the technicians, Precision in Kent County, and I said to them before, back 2 years ago, you're going to tell these big companies to get mufflers that are less noisy, but give us the same amount of power. So until that technology comes, I heard the guy say today, some gentleman said today that they're poisoning the air. Well, I did a little research, and nobody today that talked said what I'm going to tell you. I talked to meteorologists. I called them up, and I said, can you tell me how the air in Providence, Rhode Island, how it flows? He says, well, Alan, you know it goes from the west coast to the east coast. I says, yeah, I know. So the air that we clean in Providence, it's going to go and how long? He says, an hour, could be an hour, depending on the day, depending on the wind. Could be an hour, could be 2 hours, could be 4 hours. It's going to go from the west coast of Providence to the east coast of the east side of Providence within an hour to 4 hours. So that air you're talking about is going to go into the Atlantic Ocean eventually. And that's what I said 2 years ago to the people, and that's how we killed the bill. I said to them, I was taught when I was a little boy in school, my teachers taught me that the wind blows from the west coast to the east coast. So I says, what you want us to do in Rhode Island is you want to clean us the air, and it's going to go into the Atlantic Ocean. I got to stand an ovation. So I'm saying to you, don't make the wrong choice, because I don't want people to talk about this councilman, that councilman, that councilman, and say they did something bad to the people in Providence, and it hurts you in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Councilwoman Shelley Peterson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your leadership on this, Chairwoman. I appreciate it. I come today not necessarily for or against this particular ordinance in front of us. As with many things that come in front of us, I pride myself on hearing all the facts first before making an informed decision about what we're going to do, and also weigh heavily the feedback that my constituents give. But with this one in particular, I want to just pose some questions that I don't necessarily think have been answered, and it's more opportunity for us to perhaps consider further detailing within the ordinance. First and foremost, when we talk about the rebates and the opportunities for rebate made available to landscapers as they're continuing to trade in the potential of from a gas blower to an electric blower, the only rebate information that I had seen available was through the Office of Energy Resources in the state of Rhode Island, which goes up to $250,000, and it expires on June 30th. I don't necessarily believe that that's enough time, nor is it enough money to be able to give to landscapers in the state, and I don't necessarily know that up to $1,000 is very conducive to being able to trade in everything that needs to get done, based even just on the testimony that we've been given today. The other piece to this, and I think is probably more important, is enforcement. I don't necessarily know that we've come to a good understanding on how we would enforce this particular ordinance, and I question the method by which we do it. It becomes an issue of, do we tell a constituent to tell on a landscaper, how exactly is this going to get enforced, is very much a piece that I think we need to address in order to move forward with this particular ordinance. And I think it's a piece that deserves the merit to be able to understand, because we don't necessarily know what would become of it. So those are just pieces and questions that I wanted to pose to the committee as we continue to kind of research what we're going to do here. I do understand and find the points extremely concerning with regards to the environment and what it does to people's health. It's the feedback that I've received from my constituents. The noise, as a person that lives in an area that consistently gets requests or concerns about noise, noise concerns are up. I'm very well aware of all the different things, and leaf blowers tend to be in that realm of conversation. So I do note and understand where the need is on that aspect, but I do want to make sure that as we're continuing to see what we're going to do with this particular ordinance, we address those pieces to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to be supported within. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. I look forward to working with you on this. Kevin Medeiros from Station Street. I'm only saying the addresses in case I mess up your name. It's not.
Hi, thank you. My name's Kevin Medeiros. I'm a small business owner from Coventry. I grew up in South Providence, right here, and went to Broad Street School, played Little League at Roger Williams Park, and I love the city. Currently, I serve on the board at RINLA, and my company performs landscape maintenance, lawn landscape maintenance in Providence, in and around Providence. We have a very small crew, so we found that like the gas-powered tools, they're imperative for our success. In section 12-134 transition that you guys have, I believe the city is making a mistake by enacting and mandating a ban. Currently, I have several pieces of electric equipment, and I like them. I use them when necessary or when they actually perform the job. I'm testing them out myself. Often, these electric tools cost me double, and I still have to keep my gas tool on the trailer with me just so I can make sure I can finish the job. I haven't decided to pass that cost on to the customers just yet, but that's inevitable. I believe the biggest problem, though, with this is more the ban or the transition period. I don't know if the date has anything, if you guys have actually said that date means anything. Have you figured out the technology? Have you talked to the landscapers? That's the largest issue I have with the ban. I can go on about, you know, what the tools cost, comparable. I know like a trimmer that is very typical now, a gas trimmer, we spend $429 on. That's a pretty normal trimmer. That same brand has an electric trimmer, and it's $789. And the problem is, the trimmer that I buy for $429 has been around for 10 years. I know I'm gonna get 10 years out of that trimmer. I don't know that about the $789 trimmer. Also, I have to buy several more batteries for that trimmer, and it still doesn't get me through the day. I have it. So what ends up happening is, halfway through the day, I have to start using my gas trimmer. I'm not anti-electric at all. It's just not there. You know, I couldn't say it will be there in that time frame. I don't think you do either. I don't think anyone knows exactly when that is. So I think that's what you need to work on. The other thing is, not to mention other things in Rhode Island, we do have one of the highest electric rates in the country. So obviously that would be an issue if we're all plugging into that. And Rhode Island is a hard place to do business. I believe we rank 50th. This isn't going to make it easier to do business in Rhode Island. We must admit that. Yeah, noise, all of that stuff, I'm not going to argue about any of that things. I'm using the equipment all day long. I know that more than anyone else. Sometimes there's a trade-off for work being done. I mean, we want our roads paved, we want sand down on, you know, all of these things, it's a trade-off. And we just have to balance that trade-off. My biggest concern is how you enact this bill. And I mean, from the city, I guess we're getting some reach out, but I've been at the State House. I've written several testimonies over the years to representatives and senators. Not one representative and senator has ever reached back to me. So what that tells me is you're really not that serious about actually the problem that you think that we have here. If you were, you know, again, let's work on getting the electric costs down, an actual realistic mandate. I mean, the mandate, not mandate, I'm sorry, the rebates that were proposed, you know, might work for a homeowner. It's not going to work for someone like us. I recently, this past summer, decided to do a little study on perhaps converting my trailer to a rolling solar powered trailer. It can be done, and people are doing it. The problem I found was like 12 to 20 grand for one trailer. The other issue I had is the rate of charge of batteries. So essentially, in an 8-hour time frame, that I wouldn't be able to charge those batteries that I need to reuse again. So what you would end up doing is buying more batteries, again, adding to the cost and charging them overnight. It's just the time frame, just not ready. And I know, you know, people say use a rake, and I love using a rake. It's one of the best parts of the day. I mean, that's nice for someone who doesn't have to produce a profit, pay employees, and so forth. So, I mean, just take that all into account. And I just encourage people. We have one of the best landscaping associations in the country, like literally bar none in the country. Please reach out to us. We're not people that just want to pollute for the sake of polluting. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I will say that Mark did reach out on his, Mark did reach out on his very first day with the Landscape Association. We did talk last night, and I have committed to meeting with you guys, so I'm excited about that. And it was impressive. He called on his very first day at RINLA. So, how about Roberta Feather? Roberta from Elm Grove, in case I'm reading your name wrong. Oh, are you Roberta? Excellent. Come on up.
My name is Roberta Feather. I live on Elm Grove Avenue, Providence. I must say how disappointed I am in the judgment of this committee, particularly when I saw an 8-year transition point. Do you realize that we will be 2 more United States presidents ahead at that time? But I want to talk about is your focus is on the finances and comfort of the lawnmower people. I work in a profession, as do many people around me, in psychotherapy, dentistry, legal, MD, and so on. We need quiet to see people. I've lost tons of money whenever I've had to cancel because of the loud noises outside. It's not just a loss of money on the other sides. With this much noise, you cut down on one thing that our country should be relying on, and that is the ability to be creative. You cannot be creative and cannot grow as a country or a state or a city unless a person has the convenience, time, and atmosphere to use their creativity and to use their intelligence. I do not feel that the landscapers is a stressed profession. Whenever I hear people that are calling up to get a landscaper, they're all full. The people I know who have landscapers, they charge an absolute arm and a leg in their business. The stress, being a psychotherapist, I can tell you, you really can't get much done. And that's about it.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Roberta. Oops, my bad. Rafael Andujar.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Rafael Andujar. I am a manufacturing rep calling on all New England dealers and also a Cranston resident. I would like to say on the behalf of our industry, as far as from the manufacturing to the dealers to the end users, it's as simple as we're not anti-battery, we're pro-choice. That's basically it. The industry as a whole, all manufacturing, they're all coming out with battery-powered versions. It's just a matter of, we have a couple of issues right now for not residential. If you're a homeowner, it works great for you, but the commercial side of things, that's the issue that we're having right now when you're asking landscapers to pay 3 to 4 times more for a battery-powered version that's going to give them half the productivity. That is a cost that trickles down even down to the customers, the homeowners who look for landscape services. So right now, eggs are $12, $15 a dozen. So I think inflation is kind of a touchy subject now, and it's going to be in whenever you're trying to pass this bill, because if a landscaper has to pay $30,000 for a lawnmower that the gas-powered version is $10,000, what's that going to do? What's he going to have to charge his customers? So that's kind of, it affects everybody. But again, really the bottom line is, as a whole, we're not anti-battery. Everybody, I encourage all my dealers to incorporate, have battery-powered options, because we actually have landscapers, a small percentage who are incorporating it and they're adding it to their fleet. And if you're a customer that says, I prefer that you use battery on my property, Okay, no problem. There'll be a 10, 15, 20%, whatever, upcharge. And that's a choice that the landscaper has and the homeowner has. So that's really, really the bottom line. Again, it's not anti-battery, it's pro-choice. One thing I do hear about people talking about climate and the pollution levels, I read a study the other day where the F-150 Lightning, the battery-powered truck, the creation of that battery-powered truck is the equivalent of a gas-powered F-150 with 50,000 miles.
We're not talking about the F-150 today, though, sir. Thank you.
Right, but the point being is that you are saying that battery is going to be better for the environment. Well, I'm sure anybody here has a computer, can go on YouTube, can go on Google, can do research on the creation, the extraction. They're not using battery-powered excavators to extract this lithium ion from the earth. They're using dusty, dirty, diesel-powered equipment. So the argument that but again, we're not talking about that. So again, we're not anti-battery, we're pro-choice.
Sir, before you walk away, do you think you could send me those numbers you referenced at the beginning, not the egg ones, but the ones about the cost of the products that you sell?
Are you referring to the battery-powered version versus the gas-powered?
Yeah, you referenced like a percentage higher, and I would love to see those actual
yeah, absolutely.
numbers. That would be great. Thank
Okay,
you.
will
I
do.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Greg Garrett.
Greg Garrett, I live on 6th Street. I have several different things to say. One, we think in America that the most innovative people are the business people. You know, we always are looking for business for innovation. My experience is that they are the most stuck in the mud people that we have found. They are like, every time we provide them with a new technology, they like freak out and don't want to hear it. You know, we were talking about this electric cars, and the arguments that the Chamber of Commerce was bringing up about electric cars, like, oh, I'll never be able to charge it. You know, there's no charging structure. So when we try to build charging structure, who prevents it from being built? You know, so the same people who are complaining that there's no charging are the same ones making it harder to charge. You know, so we have all those kinds of things. You know, if you are in a landscaping business, you're replacing your tools all the time. You know, something's wearing out and you're replacing it all the time. If you started now replacing your stuff, instead of buying another gas-powered one, you bought the electric now, by the time 2031 comes, you probably replaced everything all the way through, or nearly so. You know, I don't know, some of the stuff might last more than 6 or 7 years, but I'm sure if you're using it hard enough, not a lot of them are lasting much longer than that. So you have all of that. Then you have the whole issue of the cost of batteries and the effectiveness of batteries. The cost is going like this, the life is going like this. So that you're going to tell me that in 6 years, the batteries are not going to be up to the task? I mean, the batteries are, you know, it's orders of magnitude better than they were 10 years ago. So we have all that kind of innovation. Then you have the issues of fossil fuels. You know, they're talking about lithium, but the fact is it takes a lot more damage to the earth to collect the oil, to run the oil things and to run the coal-fired power plants. That's much more destructive than the amount of mining it takes to collect the lithium that we're going to need on this planet. The other thing is with the batteries changing, they're going away from lithium in so many of them. They've got all kinds of new chemical stuff that they're going to do. It's really hard to imagine that in 6 or 7 years that stuff's not going to be ready. And then one last point. I don't know how many of you walk around this city when people are blowing leaves. And some of the people who are doing the work, when they see somebody walking, will stop. Or at least they'll turn it away from them so that it's not blowing in your eyes. You know, the dust is bad enough, but I get it in my eyes all the time. You know, I'm trying to walk down the street and they're blowing the stuff and they're not paying attention to the people around them because they've got so much noise around them. And so it's going in my eyes. and I can't see, and I spend all day trying to get that out of my eyes. So we have a whole bunch of stuff. You know, rakes don't do that, and I can understand. I've worked on farms. I understand the effect of machinery over hand tools. But maybe we need to change how we approach lawns. Maybe we should be doing away with lawns and going to growing food in the city, because as agriculture around the world disappears with climate disasters, you know, you're not going to have irrigation water from California to grow food there. We need to start rethinking all of this thing about the craziness of American lawns.
Thank you, Greg. James from Chestnut Street, Pagliarini, maybe? Okay. And please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is James Pagliarini. I put down Chestnut Street because that is the address of the Rhode Island Nursery and Landscape Association, which I am a two-term president. I'll be the new president coming in. I've been on the board of directors for several years. I've sat on 17 different committees in my time and tenure there. I'm also on the board of directors for Rhode Island Farm Bureau, which I've held that position since 1997. I am past commissioner of the Rhode Island State Land Preservation Commission, as well as the Water Resource Board, which was appointed by past governors, 6 years in each position. I have a degree in environmental science, my emphasis on horticulture. So I'll be hard-pressed to see if there's anybody in this room that is more of a steward to the land than myself. I am a third-generation nursery and landscaper. My family started business in Providence in 1936. I am now, thankfully, with my brothers, nieces, and nephews, fourth generation coming in. We'll be 90 years in business in June. We've traveled and worked in 7 different states over our tenure. We've done several projects all over this state and all over this city. I agree with everything that my colleagues and constituents have to say. Without being redundant, I would like to add to that. I am all for this if it's gonna benefit the environment. We only have one air and one water quality to take care of. But a couple of concerns I have. First, on enforcement. Who is going to enforce it? And this gentleman here said we're gonna take pictures and send pictures in.
The pictures are not in the ordinance. I just want to be clear on that.
There will be?
No, that is not in the ordinance, the picture taking.
So you're not gonna take pictures and fine me? Because if we do that, we should be doing the litter bugs and everybody else that's out there doing it, that's breaking the law. We have a bill like that, because I'm also a licensed arborist. You're not supposed to be planting a tree without a license. That doesn't always get enforced. My company, as well as all my 400 colleagues, have license and insurance in order to be in business. So we're all about being on a normal and better playing field. We believe in education. That is our #1 mission statement and platform. We work very highly and tightly with members of our industry, both through plant, pesticide, and better practices as any way we can. The composting this gentleman talked about is actually accurate. We've been composting for 9 decades. They talk about, oh, we're gonna go green. We've been green for a century. We have to. The only way we can replenish the holes as we dig soil is by making it. It's very important for us to gather the leaves and the grass and the weeds and recompost it and use no pesticides and chemicals, and it's what we call green manure to replenish the holes. We use about 1,500 yards a year just on my farm alone, so we need to gather the material. I have asthma. I've had asthma for over 35 years. And where did my asthma come from? It came from mold spores, from not picking up wet leaves, from working with it. My brother has tinnitus. He's been doing it all his life. He got it way before there was weed whackers, because we had scissors. We used to cut and then use scissors around the poles. And we had rakes and we had brooms. We did not have blowers. So where did he get his tinnitus from? Chainsaws. So if you want to look at it, you might as well look at the entire industry. You want to put us on a playing field, I feel as though we're being singled out. I'll be more than happy to come to the table, as long as the Parks and Recreation Department, Department of Public Works, Department of DOT, who's coming through and blowing the sand off the streets every year and every spring with their blowers. I want to make sure the universities are there. I want to make sure Roger Williams Park is represented. I want to make sure that the cemeteries. I'm sure that today I talked to the people at Swan Point Cemetery. I would really like to see how long it would take if we passed out a half a dozen rakes, what it would take to clean that place up. With these other things
And I'm just gonna, you're a little over time, so if this is your last thought,
Well, I'll
that'd be
tell you
great.
what, I'll let somebody else not go in my place. How's that?
Wait, what?
I have other concerns. This will evolve as long as we work together, meaning that just like the cell batteries in your telephones, the computers that used to be this big that weighed 300 pounds, they will evolve, but the technology is not there right now.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank
If you
you.
have anything written, please feel free to give it to the clerk to
do.
give to us. John Wilner? John? Okay, there he is.
Hello, I'm John Wilner. I'm the communications coordinator for the Providence Noise Project. Is that better? Okay, thanks. It's more comfortable. Like a lot of people who've testified today, we're concerned with the timeline that's currently written into the ordinance. It's the word we would come to is unconscionably long. We were glad to hear that the mayor is willing and supportive of speeding it up, but even 2031 is too long. We think the whole thing could commence as of next year and be concluded, including the prohibition, by 2028. Lower down, we'll talk a little bit about the landscapers, but if we need another year to accommodate them, we could go to 2029. But certainly, we don't have to wait until 2031. As you know, on this committee, delay taking environmental action always has adverse effects on people and the environment. So any delay, we will pay for that down the road. We also are concerned, as I said, that the landscapers, as is currently written, the ordinance does not include any regulation of the landscapers, and since they're the preponderant source of all the things we've talked about with the equipment, it seems really dysfunctional to regulate residents who don't nearly use as much equipment as often, the size of equipment, the capacity of equipment, as much as to the same degree, the same amount of time as the landscapers, but we're completely omitting the landscapers from the regulation. And in fact,
The landscapers aren't meant to be omitted, which is also probably why they're all here.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The landscapers aren't meant to be eliminated from this, which is also why they're all here. It wouldn't just be you or I, it would be landscapers as well. I just want to clarify
They're
that.
included as of 2028?
They're included in here. I'd have to look at the exact dates.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were saying you thought they weren't included at all. Sorry, John, keep going.
No, I'm sorry, if we misunderstood this, then that's on us, but it was our understanding that they weren't covered under the initial, there's the seasonal ban that takes place from October to December, but that we understood that to only cover the residents, so.
Okay, keep going.
So we think it should cover everybody. Again, if the landscapers need more time, we can accommodate that to a degree, but certainly not completely omitting them from the regulations. We also think that there ought to be, in addition to a seasonal restrictions, there ought to be weekly restrictions, which is to say take one day a week. We suggest Sunday, it doesn't have to be Sunday, but and have a day in which there is no, again, this is during the seasonal period, but there ought to be a day that people can be at home with their families and on their property and not be subjected to leaf blower noise. We also think this should be true of state and federal holidays, since those are gathering times that people are spending time together and celebrating. So, we're really only talking about 3 days in that restrictive window. So it would be Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, it would be Veterans Day, and it would be Thanksgiving. There are a couple other holidays in there, but those are the three that are recognized by the state and federal government. So we think those should also not allow any use of gas-powered landscaping tools. Well, another big consideration we have, and it was raised by several people, is that if you allow sales to continue, you're just building up this equipment stock one of the gentlemen said it lasts 10 years. So if you allow them to continue buying through this entire period, including, I suppose, after the ban itself goes into effect in 2033 or 2031, there's just going to be all this equipment that they're going to say that they spent a lot of money on and weren't able to use or lost their investment on. So as Greg Garrett was saying, they should really stop. So there should be a part of the amendment that curtails sales in Providence. And lastly, the lack of meaningful enforcement. Several people have mentioned it. The $100 fines, we think, that do not escalate are a liability for enforcement. The devil's always in the details with enforcement, and the Noise Project certainly knows with other sources of noise in Providence, lack of enforcement makes the rules effectively meaningless. So we really urge that that the ordinance be amended to include an escalating series of fines, and that it not be allowed to just become a business expense, because I could see where people would say, oh, the chance of our getting a citation is low, and then the cost if we do get one is low, and so it just eventually means that very little enforcement will take place. But we appreciate that the council has seen fit to take up the issue, and we support the whole process. We just think some things need to be changed along the way. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. And thanks for your continued advocacy on this, John. I cannot read this next name. If you oppose and your name is not Mark DeSisto and you signed up on this sheet, there's one person left and I cannot read your name. Bath Mowell? Can you read this, Claire? Go to Mark DeSisto. Yeah.
Hello, council members. My name is Mark DeSisto. I'm a lobbyist for RINLA. I'd like to thank you all for having the opportunity to speak tonight. And at risk of repeating information that's already been said, I'll keep my testimony very brief. Councilman Gonsalves, we've discussed this legislation before. The study that he was referencing is the 2011 Edmunds report study that compares the car with the leaf blowers. It's outdated. Happy to exchange information regarding that. I'd like to just talk about the business aspect, especially regarding landscapers. This business is a small business. The profit margins are very slim. And it really relies on how many projects that these landscaping crews can get done per day, per week, right? So if we restrict the most efficient equipment that they already have, and they won't be able to complete as many projects, say, per day, now we're eliminating, say, a full workday from them. It will continue to go down, and we're putting small businesses at risk. These are good people. These are Rhode Island people who really do care about the environment. They're landscapers and nurserymen. They're not trying to pollute the things. They're just doing things in the most efficient way that is accessible to them at this point. So we've heard numbers, we've heard statistics and things, but I'd like to just hammer home that these are small businesses with very slim profit margins for them, small crews, and this is the equipment that is working for them at this time. So a ban like this would be catastrophic for the landscaping industry. Thank you for your time. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. No questions. Great. Jennifer Mortensen. Thank you, Jennifer.
Is this good on the mic? Hello, my name is Jennifer Martinson. I am a resident of Elmhurst and the chair of Quiet Clean Rhode Island, and I am here in support of this ordinance. Before I start, I just want to say quickly that I heard from Phoenix Wheeler of Audubon Society of Rhode Island that they were not able to be here tonight, but they are strongly in support of this ordinance, and you will see the written testimony if you haven't already gotten that. We've heard a lot from people who work in the business that that phasing out gas leaf blowers is just not feasible. But there are other people in the business who will tell you that it is totally feasible, and these things are not true. There are many battery-powered lawn care businesses thriving throughout the country. I wish that you could hear from some of their owners tonight, because they would tell you, they would contradict everything we've heard from the people who have testified today. So they just have a completely different experience. You can read their testimonies in the written materials that I have provided. Some of them have offered to meet with you, and I would be happy to facilitate that discussion. So for tonight, I'm just going to briefly summarize some of the things that they have said. They have said that, number one, battery-powered blowers are powerful enough to get the job done. The top battery models move air at 800 cubic feet per minute and 200 miles per hour, comparable to many of the most powerful gas models. Number two, battery-powered equipment saves money in the long run. Research confirms that while upfront costs may be higher, operational costs are significantly lower. A conservative estimate shows that a battery blower saves $1,400 over its lifetime compared to a gas model due to savings from gas maintenance and repairs. One electric leaf blower will save you over $600 in gas in 1 year. Number three, you don't need 100 batteries, you don't need hundreds of batteries. They're not going to cost you $27,000 to buy your batteries. A couple of spare batteries are enough to get through a full day's work. Charging batteries is a simple routine task, just like going to the gas station to fill gas cans and mixing oil and gas to put in the tanks. Charging batteries becomes part of daily operations. Four, battery-powered crews complete jobs just as efficiently. Many businesses report maintaining the same schedules and pricing as their gas-powered competitors, and they have the same number, if not more, clients. The health and safety of the workers improves dramatically. Workers using battery tools breathe cleaner air and experience fewer headaches. They report feeling better and sleeping better at the end of the day. 6, concerns about battery fires are overblown. There's no data to show that lithium batteries are any more dangerous than traditional lawnmowers, which cause 90 deaths and tens of thousands of injuries every year, including amputations, and they also sometimes catch fire. According to OSHA, the batteries are generally safe when used according to the manufacturer's instructions. So I think it's clear that the battery blowers are economically viable for businesses and that their employees' health would benefit greatly. I do think that we should be giving them some help financially and especially educationally and with training to help them get through the shift. I think we really need to partner with somebody who can kind of teach them how to make use of this stuff. But while we're thinking about whether or not this is affordable for landscaping businesses, whether they might have to raise prices, and what impact it has on jobs, you must also be thinking about the price that everyone else is paying for it. In particular, just on the one dimension of jobs, gas leaf blowers are actively preventing other people from doing their jobs. Imagine how many productive hours so many of us have collectively lost because leaf blowers interrupted the work or prevented night shift workers from sleeping, leaving them at diminished capacity to do their jobs. If we could all be compensated for those lost hours, what would the price tag be? The community has been paying in time and health and money for this outdated technology for too long. There's a readily available solution that will work for everyone, and the time to implement the solution is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you, before you leave, after the clapping dies down, I just want to say thank you also for the offer to introduce us to the landscapers. I know you and I have talked before, so I'd love to make sure we make that happen, and I'd invite my other colleagues if they want to join.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Amy from Everett Ave. Sorry, I can't read your last name. I apologize. And we are going to stick to the 3 minutes if possible. I've been letting folks go a little bit over, but I know we're starting to lose people, so.
My name is Amy Remensnyder, and I live in Ward 2. We've heard a lot about the costs, the potential costs to landscapers. Jennifer has just effectively refuted those arguments. I want to talk particularly about the costs to the rest of us. I think that this ordinance will take a long-needed step in making Providence livable again by helping to end the public health crisis and quality of life crisis that gas-powered leaf blowers with their bone-shaking and polluting emissions have created. I think there's literally nothing good about gas-powered leaf blowers. Yes, they move leaves and debris from sidewalks and lawns, but often by blowing it into the street or onto other people's properties, and always at extraordinarily high cost, not just to the health and well-being of the workers and landscaping crews, but also to the health and well-being of residents, pets, and wildlife in the neighborhoods where they are used. I'm not going to quote to you the statistics about the noise levels. You know all that. It's in the packet, etc. But I do just want to point out that these inefficient two-stroke engines, which have no emissions control, that the air pollution that they emit is compounded by the fine particulate matter that they send into the air and that is breathed in by people, pets, and wildlife. These clouds of fine particulate matter contain animal feces, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, pollen, diesel, soot, brake dust, rubber tire particles, and heavy metals. 1 hour of gas-powered leaf blower use can kick up 5 pounds of this toxic mix, and this is an invisible cloud that then lingers in the air for up to 5 to 7 days. Often when I'm walking by people using leaf blowers, I put on a mask to try and protect myself, but I realize that almost everywhere I walk in my neighborhood, I'm passing through a cloud of this fine particulate matter that was kicked up previously by leaf blowers. To speak on an even more personal level, when I moved into my neighborhood in 2000, it was a quiet residential district. Now, because of the extreme increase in the use of gas-powered leaf blowers, it is a residential district with industrial levels of noise essentially all the time. Except during winter months when there's snow on the ground, there's usually only a few hours of daylight each day when I am not assaulted by leaf blower noise. I used to work at home, but now because of gas-powered leaf blowers, I can't do that. I also can't enjoy my yard. Sometimes this noise is deafening if the landscapers are within a few blocks, and at other times it is just excessively loud. But always it is extremely disruptive, and it makes it impossible for me to concentrate or relax in my own home. I know that I will be unable to retire in Providence unless this situation changes, because I can't bear the stress of being home all day long and being assaulted by gas-powered leaf blowers and their emissions. You've heard landscapers say they can't do the job without gas-powered leaf blowers, yet the way that they are currently doing and defining that job is making it impossible for many residents to do their own jobs from home or to simply enjoy their own homes. Not every leaf has to be blown. Leave the Leaves movements have shown how beneficial leaves are for the environment. Plus, hundreds of cities and towns have effectively passed these bans. And this has happened without landscapers losing money or laying off workers. This can be a win-win situation. Electric leaf blowers can do the job that needs to be done. Brown University, where I work, recently transitioned all of its landscaping tools to electric models, including leaf blowers, with no resultant decline in the quality of the campus's appearance, but a huge improvement in the noise level. The recent state
about 15 seconds left.
Okay, all right. So what I want to say is please pass this ordinance as soon as possible, but I implore you to change it to make the partial ban effective in 2026 and the full ban effective in 2028. Providence residents and people who work here cannot wait for years to get relief from these machines. We need relief, and we need it now. Please pass this ordinance. By doing this, you will be protecting the health of people and the environment in Providence. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Hans Scholl.
My name is Hans Scholl. I'm a Barrington resident, 71 Fales Avenue, and I thank you for providing the opportunity, even as a non-Providence resident, to testify. I'm a member of the Barrington Resilience and Energy Committee, and we are moving in the same direction, trying to phase out leaf blowers. So we are looking at Providence as the leading by example community here to start with phasing out the blowers. So thank you for that. And then back to Barrington, very similar to Providence. There is not a single day anymore in the year, except maybe January, where you can't hear a leaf blower, and you hear them pretty close. It's beyond annoying and I think nobody thinks about the impact that it has on the residents who work from home, whose work performance goes significantly down. I can't have lunch on the porch anymore because somewhere next to me someone is blowing leaves and kicking up a ton of dust. So I think looking at the testimonies this evening, one thing stands out to me. I think there's always the argument used, well, not strong enough yet, not good enough yet. It will never be, because the gas blowers and their performance gets jacked up every year, and the electric blowers follow behind, but they don't close the gap. And I would say it's simply not necessary. We don't need a jet engine to blow a single leaf off a driveway. I think the other thing is you hear two unreconcilable positions. On one side, a claim it will cost our livelihood. It's not possible, we all go out of business. On the other side, and I think there has been testimony given to the record, and I encourage you to study that thoroughly. I don't need to tell you, of course, sorry. Testimony that there are landscapers out there who run a profitable business with all-electric equipment. So A and B, one and the other, is simply not reconcilable, so look closely at what you get. And then I heard here and in previous testimonies in the State House and in Barrington, a lot of ideas, a lot of claims that these are family business, we are entrepreneurs. There was a strong one even in the State House where the entrepreneurial component was very much pointed out. Think of it in a different way. In 15 years, there will be no gas-powered equipment anymore. We will have so many bad weather events, gas is off limits. So there will eventually have to be a conversion out of that reason alone. And whoever converts first and does it in a smart entrepreneurial way will own the market. I never hear anything of that. So I think I miss that component too. So thank you for putting out the ordinance, and I hope it will pass, and it will set a right example for not only Barrington, but the many communities in the state who are looking to Providence to lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans. George Vaudis? George? Yeah.
George Vaudis. I'd like to thank the council for your leadership on addressing the negative effects gas-powered leaf blowers are causing on the public health and the quality of life of people in Providence, Rhode Island. I am in strong support of the leaf blower ordinance and its passage as soon as possible. The feeling I get when gas-powered leaf blowers are used near me is one of being assaulted and under attack. I'm a former combat veteran, and this disturbs me very, very deeply. The dangerous noise levels and toxic brew of the raw emissions spewed by gas-powered leaf blowers have and continue to severely degrade my physical and mental health and my overall quality of life. The same can be said for the vast majority of Providence residents and residents across this country. Also, along with the wildlife and the collective natural world ecosystems that are affected negatively by the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. The time is now to stop these horrendous machines from operating in Providence and restore our collective public health and improve quality of life we want and expect in our city. I want to relate to you a personal story. I work at a church on Benevolent Street in Providence and frequently encounter the dangerous effects of gas-powered leaf blowers there. Hearing the wall-penetrating sound and smelling the noxious raw gas fumes from these machines is ever present and must stop. During church workshops, when we are trying to concentrate and think about our mission, we are constantly bombarded with these gas-powered leaf blowers, often several at a time from the same crew. Even during Sunday services across the street, we hear the din of these gas-powered leaf blowers along with our church organ music. This is not a pleasurable experience, to say the least. Now, hundreds of cities and towns across the country have passed ordinances that are in existence today and that restrict the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. The trend is accelerating quickly. It's not going backwards. Landscapers have not lost business. Customers are not paying more for their service. And there's countless testimonials from landscapers available all over the country, and we can certainly provide those to you. I'm sure they're in some of the testimonies, including recent testimonies from Monarch Mowing of Baltimore, Maryland, Serenity Lawn Care of Huntington, New York, and Lawn Wizard of New Bedford, Massachusetts. I ask you to review their websites, contact the owners, and they will tell you how successful their business is. The City of Baltimore, Maryland recently passed an ordinance to limit the use of gas-powered leaf blowers from October 15th to December 15th for the years 2025 and 2026, and no more after that time. Baltimore is very similar to Providence in terms of population density, high levels of pollution, and high rates of asthma. The City of Baltimore's ordinance is a good one that Providence should consider carefully.
And I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. You got a little bit over.
Okay, the current timeline that you have in the ordinance to take effect is way too long, and that should be changed. You've heard it from other testimonies here. There's no mention in the ordinance about landscaping businesses, and at least I missed it if I read it. I would also like to see that gas-powered leaf blowers of any type, whether it's handheld, backpack, or the push type of ordinance, be considered in this ordinance. Current penalties for nonconformance are weak, and they should be increased. And I want to close by saying that the business opportunities for electric battery-powered landscaping in general are incredible. And I'm really surprised that some of the entrepreneurs have not seized on this opportunity like others around the country have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And if you wouldn't mind, sir, if you could send the name, if you haven't included it in your testimony, if you had written, if you could send us the names of those businesses, I'd be happy to look into those.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we've got two folks left who have signed up. Allison Lifton. Thank you, Allison. And then after Allison is going to be Julie Cirola. If I said that wrong, I really apologize.
Hi. Thank you so much for your leadership on this issue. I'm also from Barrington, but I'm actively planning a possible move to Providence.
Come to Ward 3.
Yeah, I'm an urban planner by training, so I've thought a lot about this issue and have been working on it a lot in in Barrington. And I'm also here because I echo what Hans said, basically. I'm also one of those people who works frequently from home and who feels like the quality of my work is extremely degraded by this situation in Barrington. I constantly have to reschedule. I'm on recorded calls a lot. I constantly have to reschedule them. I can't concentrate. I do a lot of writing and thinking about complex policy issues, and it's just an incredibly stressful and disruptive thing. And so one of the reasons I am partly thinking about moving to Providence is because if this ban gets passed, I might have a much better work situation. But I want to focus on an aspect of this problem that I think is a little bit underrepresented sometimes, and that is that, and I'm going to read a little bit from my own testimony because I wasn't actually planning on testifying, but I am going to now, obviously, because I'm here. But so I want to emphasize an angle on the gas leaf blower issue that I think gets less attention, but which is incredibly important, which is that gas leaf blowers seriously degrade the quality of civic life for anyone who wants to enjoy a city's many cultural and commercial and civic assets. And in this case, obviously, I'm talking about Providence. I'm talking about those who live, work, or go to school in the city, of course, but also those who regularly visit and spend time there. I do not believe that it is hyperbolic to say that gas leaf blowers constitute a threat to a healthy civil society, of which cities should be some of our strongest stewards and on which thriving urban economies actually depend. It's borderline barbaric at this stage to operate gas leaf blowers anywhere, but especially in dense urban places. As part of a move to strengthen civil society, American cities need to move toward becoming more friendly to those outside cars, including those walking, bicycling, and taking public transit, which involves standing outside at bus stops, sometimes in Providence for long periods of time, unfortunately. Gas leaf blowers are simply incompatible with the kind of civic life that our cities need to grow and support. They drive people away, make getting around outside a car extremely unpleasant and more dangerous, make conversation with others challenging, and cause mental stress. If I'm in a commercial area or a park where there are gas leaf blowers operating, for example, I will simply leave and go elsewhere and probably not come back, especially during times when these machines are in heavy use. This is bad for commercial, social, economic, and cultural life. I'm aware that many landscapers complain that they can't do their jobs without these tools. However, there was one landscaper who just a minute ago said, you know, it's just not there. The technology's just not there. And I would ask, there for what? What is the job that we think is so, I think it's important that we start redefining what a healthy landscape is and what the job is. And I agree with Hans that, like, I think that it's never going to be enough because the power of the equipment always has to be stronger and stronger. So I do think that we need to define what we want, what landscape should be. And I would support, for example, a larger rebate at the state level. I think that could actually help a lot. I understand that the costs are an issue, but I also think that, I hope that the people, I'm also part of Quiet Clean Rhode Island, and I hope that the people that are here who are supporting this effort and the people who are worried about it or who are opposed to the ordinance also understand that I think we have a lot of common ground, actually, and I think we should try and work hard to find that common ground, and I hope the city will support that effort. I certainly think we all, would benefit from not having a burning planet. So I'm going to end there, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we have Julie Grola. I'm so sorry that I'm totally butchering. Yeah, I'm like, people sometimes, my last name gets so butchered, my friend, so I'm so sorry, but I empathize.
It's okay. It's Julie Cipolla. It should be Cipolla. We're lousy Italians. Hi.
That's
Ward
a P.
5, Mount Pleasant. Hi. Thank you for addressing this issue. I like to think of it as an opportunity and not a threat. There was a time, a few generations, not even a few generations, when I was a kid, when real estate folks, construction people, said they couldn't possibly do their jobs without lead and paint, and they couldn't possibly, put pipes in that didn't have lead in them. And now we're struggling with those decisions. I think the same is true of air pollution, even though there was an optimistic gentleman here who thought that it's all going to blow east. I don't know. It just doesn't. It seems like it's going to come around again, like karma does. I want people to have jobs, please know that, and I think it's possible with the battery technology. It's getting better, and I think 6 years might be a conservative estimate for how good the batteries are going to get, but I'm hoping it'll be sooner than that. But I thank you for doing this. I support the initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to check with the city sergeant. Did anyone else sign in, Napoleon? Okay. So that was the last testimony of folks who had signed in. Did people forget to sign in or not know? Okay, if we could just take a minute, and if anyone remaining wants to sign in real quick, just sign in, and then we'll finish up the list. Thank you. I should have reminded it in the middle. That's my bad. now's your chance. If you're sitting out there and you're not signing in, this is your chance. This is it. If you just want to step up, we have your name written down, but if you could say your name and then, yeah.
My name is Jessica Peters. I live on the east side. I'm here wearing a mask today because I have serious chronic health issues, as does my wife. And one of the things that is recommended by every doctor that I see, spend time outside, take walks, all of these things. And I work a full-time job despite these health issues. And so being able to do that is incredibly important. And I know a lot of people have talked about issues of air quality in these larger environmental pieces. I want to talk about that as somebody who's experienced this in my own yard. So I have a beautiful garden. We don't use any leaf blowers, except very judiciously electric ones at certain times, because it turns out leaves don't kill your lawn. And we have a thriving yard full of more insect life and creatures than anyone around me who has sterile lawns. While I'm sitting out there on a Saturday, I suddenly get assaulted not only with the noise, but with torrents of leaf bits and particulates flying at me because the person who lives behind us has hired a leaf blower. And that kills me for 24 hours minimum. I am ill. And not only do I not get to enjoy that space, not only are my ears assaulted, as many people have spoken to, but I'm ill. And I am driven out of my yard. I am driven out of my neighborhood because we live in the midst of all of this. And going for walks, especially at certain times of year, I go part of a block and I see a house that has landscapers there, and they have 6 people for a not particularly unusual single-family home, all with leaf blower backpacks. All of them are blowing around stuff, and I can't even tell what they're blowing because it is not visible across the street. Maybe they mowed and they're blowing some grass clippings. They are blowing things and they are just ending up in the street. They're ending up in the neighbors' yards, and so then they hire people to blow it back. And it's completely ridiculous. And so while I understand that there are concerns from landscapers, if landscapers were handling this in a responsible, reasonable way, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if they were just using leaf blowers in the very small occasions where they are truly necessary. Instead, you see landscapers everywhere, all over the city, using them in absolutely ridiculous, unneeded ways where there's nothing even to blow. Nothing that anyone could see. And as many people have said, not every leaf needs to go. In fact, it's better if they stay. Not every grass clipping. You want to blow all of that away only to then have to justify the racket of bringing back fertilizer to fertilize that lawn because, shockingly, it doesn't have nutrients because they were all blown away. And what it's really telling me, these people here who are getting up here and advocating for their business, I understand, but they're saying that their business has more rights than my ability to not be made ill by the city I live in. They're saying that their business has more rights than the many constituents here who live in this city, who are saying that their work is affected, mine too, and that their well-being is affected. And that doesn't make any sense. The supposed facts that they offer are in large part nonsensical or distorted. I'm not sure why they can't seem to get electric equipment that is the kind of examples that we were given for home-owned equipment to work like the rest of us seem to be able to, but it's not in good faith. And it's really upsetting to see, especially in this moment in time, business interests of people who do not want to deal with the challenges of changing, instead being willing to foist challenges, pain, and suffering on all of the rest of us. It's not okay. And I'm here at the end of a long day, at the end of receiving an infusion for my health stuff because this is that important. And I agree and echo the comments of everyone that this needs to be moved up. I don't want to have to wait until 2031 in order to be able to enjoy my yard, to follow my doctor's instructions, to walk around my neighborhood and not have that make me sick. And I think that all of these people deserve that too. So please consider starting the partial ban as soon as possible and moving the timeline up. This is not fast enough, and as we know, technology will evolve when it needs to. And no one is going to willingly make this change. Just like now that no one's stopping them from sending those 6 guys with backpacks to do nothing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica. And George.
Hey there. So I wish I signed up before because I actually run an electric landscaping company right now.
Welcome.
It's based in Massachusetts, but I do plan on opening a branch somewhere around here, but it takes a lot of research. We maintain about 330 properties up there, and the biggest one's about 26 acres. So it is possible, but I will say it is a challenge. It's not an easy thing, and especially for a lot of businesses that are converting, they do have to do something that I don't have to do, which is cannibalize their equipment. So I think it's really important for this. I've heard a lot of different sides only clapping for themselves, and I just feel like we really need to do a better job of just listening to each other, because I've seen this and I've worked in trying to get people to seep together with this, and nobody listens. I've talked to 50 different towns. The enforcement, you can't fight this like a war. You're gonna have to come together and work, because you have one people are trying to make a livelihood, and the other people that care about the environment. And yeah, my business is doing great, but I've been trying to step in and help, and Newton hasn't been very successful. They do have their law in place, but I'm not seeing more competition. And so I have to feel like there's a better way. So, yeah.
Thank you,
that's
George. Yeah, I appreciate that. And if you'd be open to sitting down and talking sometime, I would love that. Thank you. I really appreciate you. And with that, we have no further testimony. Claire, do I need to say anything in particular? The public hearing is now concluded. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.